Tell you about me, okay? So I am Roy Hulling, and have been teaching this for one of the most important parts of the class. There we go. Oh yeah. Been teaching this for 9 or 10 years. If some of you know the Bonds from Excalibur, Mrs. Bond asked me to. Turns out I had a minor in chemistry. My undergraduate degree was in zoology. Master's degrees in divinity and marriage and family therapy, as I mentioned. So you end up with a minor getting that zoology degree at Auburn, and she asked me to teach chemistry, and the irony there is that I hated chemistry. Every class I took in it, it was like dragging fingernails across a chalkboard. I just never liked chemistry. So, as I say, real irony in being asked to teach it. And in the years since, have actually come to appreciate it. So, you never know what happens in this life, so that's an example for you as well. So, the way that I teach this class, a little more information, I guess, about me. So, full-time job, the day job is pastor, married, 5 children, a 6th in heaven. Our first child was a SIDS baby, 6 grandchildren, and the last one coming along right there was a wonderful surprise, so in any respect. But if you're looking at your syllabus, you see my name, you see my email address, pastor@mmarpc.com, and my phone number. Now, those 2 pieces of information are important for this reason. If you have questions, I'm glad to take them. I'm glad to work through this stuff with you. If you are, struggling over something, what you do is you either email me or call me. Text is only good to, and you can text me at that number, but I don't, you guys, so I don't do text. I do text to set up an appointment to talk, but that's about it. So if you're having questions, if you're having troubles, call or email. There's a chance you won't get me, but if you'll leave a message, I'll get back with you, and we'll either talk then or we can set up a time to talk. And I've had students take advantage of that in the past, and I'm glad for you to do that, and I've had a whole bunch that didn't. So whatever you want to do, but I'm just telling you, I will help you if you need that kind of help. I mentioned to you that we are videoing all of the lectures. Probably will not video the prayer time, just in terms of if you have prayer requests. Some of those might be a little bit private, so we won't put that on video, but the lecture portion, it will be videoed, so you can go to that link, and I know that's a long one and you can't really scan it, but that will be the link of my YouTube channel. Can't you search my name? Yeah, and you can get there that way too. So, of course, nothing's up right now, but we will have today's lecture up at the end of today, probably. You should have Exploring with Creation with Chemistry, this nice little book right here. All right, and we will need that every time you come. You'll need to bring your textbook every time you come. And of course, we meet here. All right, so take a look at the requirements for the class. I have them labeled by date, and so today you see what we've got scheduled is the class introduction and overview, and I got to know you guys a little bit, and we're actually not doing too bad at the time. So, and then I'm going to lecture. I won't get to all of the 16 pages, but we'll get to a little of the material today. So what that means for you this week is that you will read over these same pages that I'm lecturing about this week, and you'll do half of the homework for the module. In other words, that's pretty much listed at questions 1.1 through 1.11, the review numbers 1 through 4, and the practice problems 1 through 5, and then the terms, and I'm going to speak to the terms in just a minute. Yes, sir?
It says on your syllabus questions 1.1 through 1.11
Yes. Yes, so just do the odd. Yeah. I mean, you can do them all, but all I'm asking you to do is the odd. And again, I'm going to explain my philosophy of education to you in a heartbeat, in a nutshell in just a minute. It is vital that you do the homework. And I'll explain why in just a minute. But it's just vital that you do it. Okay? That's for this week. So in essence, I lecture through the first half of the module. You go home and do the homework for the first half of the module. All right? Next week, August 27th, I lecture through the second half of Module 1. All right? And you will go home and do the homework that's pretty much listed there for the second half of the module. Or catch up from the first half of the module that you didn't do. All right? But hopefully, if you stay on target, we're not looking at that much time. And I want to talk to you about that in just a second. All right? If you stay current, the class is going to be okay. All right? And who knows, we might learn something. We might. That's the goal. All right. September 3rd, the third week. We're done with Module 1. We're spending 2 weeks on each module. We're going to do 7 total modules because there's 14 weeks of class. We're done with Module 1. We introduce Module 2. Incidentally, each week I'll take any of your questions that you have about this stuff. I would actually prefer that you get with me outside of class, call or email, just for the sake of time. Because sometimes if you get a lot of questions about the last module, you don't have enough time to do the next one. But anyway, we'll lecture through the first half of Module 2 on September 3rd. You'll go home and do the first half of Module 2's homework. And there in red, as if to highlight the fun that awaits you, you will take a take-home test on Module 1. All right? Now, on that take-home test, it will clearly say at the top of the test that it is open notes, all right, the stuff that I've handed you, and open homework. The homework that you do, you'll be able to refer to do the test. It is closed book. And of course, you'll be able to use a calculator. I mean, obviously that's the case. But it is closed book, but open all of the work that you might do. All right? And then there's another thing. On the back page, if you look at class policies at the bottom, notice tests are worth 80% of your grade, homework and terms are worth 20%. Extra credit for performing and writing up textbook labs at home. I'll speak to that in a second. But what I wanted to get to right at this second is extra credit for drawing text figures. We have some artists in here. Who likes to draw? Yes. So might be up your alley in terms of drawing stuff that's in the textbook. You may use it on your test if you draw it. All right? And I will offer you extra credit points for doing that too. Now, why, you say? Because learning is whole brain. Chemistry, and especially the math portions of chemistry, you're going to utilize your left brain. If you're left-handed, it's the right brain. It's the opposite. But for the most part, the logical side of your brain will be utilized in chemistry unless you do things specifically designed to use the right side of your brain. Your right side sees the whole. Left brain sees the eyebrows and the glasses and the mask. The right brain sees the whole face. All right? Art, music, these things. Architecture. Where was our architecture guy? Architecture is, to some degree, right brain. The best architects in the world utilize both, but that flair for designing interesting and creative buildings, it happens from the right brain. And if you draw pictures, what you're doing, you might not realize it, but you're learning, all right? And that's what the goal of this class is, to learn. All right, so why do I let you use your notes and your homework and drawings on your test? Because I want to be easy and let you get an easy grade, No, because I want you to learn the material. And here's the deal. If you do the homework, if you do the repetition, the Hebraic method, the ancient Hebraic method of learning involves repetition. Throughout the scriptures, if you've spent any time looking at them, you see a lot of stuff is repeated. A lot, and there's, we'll never get to all of it. But there's a lot of stuff that you recognize because it's spoken of over and over again. And why is that? Because that's how we learn. We see stuff, and we see it again, and we see it again, and we learn. So if you will do the homework, if you will read through the material, and you will be surprised that you will learn. You just will. All right? It may sound funny, but it's the truth. Here's the deal. So, 12 years of school, 4 years of undergraduate degree, 3 years of master stuff. And through most of it, I was required to memorize. And so what I would do is, in terms of preparing for tests, I would sit down, and usually with a group of students in the class, something else that I'll recommend to you. Now, if you can use it, especially when you get to college, study in study groups, specifically with people who are in your class, people who hear the same information that you do. If you study in a study group and quiz one another, you will be surprised how you will learn. You don't know how you got that stuff, but you just will. So, that said, I was required to memorize. I had to memorize all this crap, and I would sit down days before or the night before, whatever it was, and I would memorize this stuff, and I would go in and I would regurgitate it onto the paper, and I did okay. In undergraduate school at Auburn, I did great in the classes I liked. Not that great in classes I didn't like. In seminary, I did fine. But that's what happened. I would go in and regurgitate this material, but here's the problem. A day or two after the test, I didn't remember any of that stuff. I hadn't learned it because I hadn't applied learning principles. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to learn the chemistry. I want you to come out of chemistry realizing that you know stuff that you didn't think you knew. And when it's time to go back to it, say your first college chemistry course, or organic, that you'll go, wow, where did that come from? I didn't memorize that. It's because you've learned it. All right? That's the goal for this class. I could care less if you sat down and memorized stuff to give me, material for a test, and I give you an A, and you go away, and you haven't learned anything. I never learned by memorizing. I know people, I've had students who had photographic memories. Boy, do I wish I was one of those. But I'm not. And anybody in here you probably won't admit it. Anybody in here got a photographic memory? Anybody? Yeah. They're rare. All right? If you will remember, learning is the process of repetition. Learning is the process of looking at the pictures. When you're a kid, you like, what was the best part of a book? The pictures. You were learning. You didn't know it. So that's the requirements in terms of this class, is that you learn the material. The homework that you do, all right? I will not check it for its accuracy, all right? If you just sit down and write gibberish and show it to me, I'm going to give you 20% credit. I will. But here's the problem. You won't have learned anything. And I'm not going to be your mother. I'm not going to do that type of checking on you. You are to the age where you're getting ready for college, and you've got to learn to learn. And so, I can be your mother and force you to do the stuff the right way, but that ain't going to be any good for you. And if you're practicing it now, in terms of the sloughing off life and cheating, you're going to practice it for a long time. Maybe you'll quit. But if you practice life in the right way now, you're going to set yourself up for a really good future. So, you do the homework, You show me that you've done it and you get the credit. All right? That's the way we do the homework. The tests are a different thing. You're going to turn those in and I'm going to grade them. But the homework is done that way. Now, the other extra credit option, and also somebody here was concerned, we have an hour, and we don't have time to lecture and do lab at the same time. We just don't. And does this look like a chemistry lab? I mean, I've done labs in these courses before, and we will do lab at the end of the semester. We will have a lab day, and I will bring some stuff in, and we will do labs from the textbook. But here's the deal. If you really want to ensure your lab credit for this class, you are going to do some of the labs at home, and you're going to see some of them are real simple. And when you do them, if you would, turn in your textbook to page III. It's right in the front, right before the table of contents. III. What's that? I know, I gotta get you. I'm sorry. So there is the experiments, a description of lab reports. I don't need anything profound. I'm not going to give you the official lab report way. I just want you to know that you perform the lab, have fun with it. Don't blow up the house. Set it on fire. If you will show me that you did it and give me the lab report back, I will give you extra credit for that lab, and then you will be able to claim it as a chemistry course with lab. We will do lab at the end of the semester, and at the end of the year, the last spring semester, we will do lab then too. So as far as I'm concerned, that's still a lab credit, but if you want to be sure, if you will do those labs, you will receive extra credit. And not all of the labs, I mean, for crying out loud, but just some of them. Maybe one from each module. Yes, sir?
What if we blow up part of the house?
You're going to have to talk loud. What was that?
What if we only blow up part of the house?
Excellent. I like this kid.
Extra credit.
Extra credit. Super. This is the kind of stuff I like. I will ask you as we lecture through if there's questions. And I've already told my son. So this is the deal. Every year, is there any questions? And it's the sound of crickets. Nobody ever speaks up. I'm glad to answer your questions during lecture on the lecture stuff, all right? I understand, because I've been there and done that, you don't necessarily want to ask the questions, you kind of sometimes feel embarrassed or whatever else, but the bottom line is if you've got a question, probably everybody else had a question. I'll tell you this story fast. So, Calculus 1 at Auburn. I had a professor, class size about 45, something like that. So this guy would lecture through the material and he'd stop and he'd look around the room and he'd say, "Holly, you don't understand this, do you?" And I'd say, "No." And I'd say, "All right, let's go over it again. What don't you understand?" So I'm not that good at recognizing, especially with masks on, your confusion. But the bottom line is, I made an A in calculus. I hated calculus too, all right? I just hated it. Next semester, had a guy there that, talk about 180 degrees. I couldn't get the other professor. He wasn't teaching that semester. But second semester calculus, I barely eked by with a D+. And I took it because I wanted to be done. So there. So there, calculus. But anyway, it was the difference in the teacher, in his willingness to receive and go over material that people didn't understand. Incidentally, it wasn't just me in that first guy's class. He'd look around the room, and if it looked like they weren't getting it, "You don't understand, do you?" They'll. That's the case for you. Please speak up. I'm glad to stop. Like I said, if you've got a question, the chances are everybody else does too. All right? Let's see, what else did I want to tell you? All right, come to class prepared. Everybody in here's got a mask on. You're socially distancing. We got to keep this up for as long as COVID is an issue. You know, some folks are saying we could have a resurgence in the fall. I'm kind of thinking it won't. I think we're hitting close to herd immunity in the state and in the nation, and I think we're going to start to back off. Could very well be wrong. This virus has been unique, but until it does, sadly, you got to wear the mask until it's time to say something to me. You've already found out I can't hear. Well, I can, but I can't hear that great. So you got to talk loud. Bring your hand sanitizer and your wipes to wipe off your table when you leave. If you don't have wipes, there are some in the back there. But please wipe off the table when you leave, just for the sake of the people coming behind you. Let's see, bring your textbook, notebook, pencils, calculator. Respect yourself and one another. And you know, every year, I've said this for as long as I've taught homeschool kids, and that is, there's no finer teens in the world. I mean, I'm not kidding. I've taught public school in my life. I've taught Christian school at a local Christian school here. And the difference in quality of kid is incredible. First year I taught, it's 15 kids in the chemistry class. There was an addition. 16th came in like 3 weeks into the course. She came to homeschool for the first time because she had some socialization issues. She just did, and was being ridiculed in a Christian school. So she did homeschooling and then came to this class. And she came in, and it was immediately apparent that she had socialization issues. I could, not that it is all deserved, obviously, never. But I understood why she was ridiculed, because she was just different. Well, there were the cool kids, in quotes, in the class, some girls that sat in the back, and they were into sports and into boys and a variety of things. The first thing those kids did, I'll never forget this, is invite this girl to join them. I mean, the cool kids brought in this kid, and it wasn't, I was worried maybe they were going to, because I'd seen that too, bring somebody in and then really do them a number. But they just befriended her. It was the neatest thing. And I've never seen that in any school situation. And that kid, incidentally, flourished. You talk about socialization issues. I mean, by the end of that class, by the end of the year, at least in that class, she was great. And I mean, that kind of stuff you pay money to watch. But I got to see that. And it's because of the quality of kids. And I just believe that's going to be the case for you guys too, in terms of the fact that you've had opportunity to be around maybe your family more than some of the influence at other schools, but in any respect. So that's kind of who I am, what I expect. Let's see if there's anything else. In terms of grades, 90 to 100's A, 80 to 90's B, that sort of thing. All right, is there any questions about any of this stuff that I've mentioned to you about me, about class expectations, about any of it? Yes, sir.
Is there a specific way you'd like us to file or turn in homework?
Say it one more time. I know it's a homework question.
Is there any specific way you'd like us to file it or turn it in?
To turn it in, yes. Thank you. Excellent question. So, because I didn't mention that going through this thing. So, we lecture through half of Module 1 today. We won't even get close. We lecture through the rest of Module 1 next week. We start Module 2 in 2 weeks, and I check your homework. I'll have you come up near the end of class. I'll call your name. You'll come up. You'll just show me your homework, and I'm going to check it off. That's how we do it. So you bring your homework and show me. Okay? And if you don't show up on a particular day, I'll catch you another time. I don't want you to have to, scan stuff and send that through the internet. So that's the way we'll do it. Thank you. Thank you. Everybody get that? So 2 weeks from today, your homework on Module 1 will be due. All right? We good? Any other questions? Thank you again. I got a question. All right. Turn, if you would, in your, we didn't do that. We didn't talk about terms, but it's time to talk about terms now as we begin the lecture. So, take out your terms. You got 3 pages. That's right. This is so important too. Doggone. So, what will you be tested on? Here's the other thing that infuriated me in school, and that is to study my little heart out and get into the test and discover that there's material on that test that I had no idea that I was responsible for. It infuriated me. And the best professors never did that, but the ones that, I'm not sure what they thought or what they were thinking, but I just can't tell you how disappointing that would be to get in, having put in the time. It's one thing to goof off and not study, but it's another thing to go over the material and know it, and then to find stuff on there that you've never seen. Well, this is what you are responsible for on the test. All right? This is it. So, if you have this stuff filled out, and if you've done your homework, how do you think you're going to do on the test? You're going to do fine. So, again, why do I give you the stuff that you are responsible for? Because you will learn it that way. You will become familiar with it. This is 3 pages. You won't always have 3 pages. Sometimes it'll be 4 or 5. Sometimes one module is 2. But that's what you are responsible for. In terms of filling out these terms, we will do it in class. You don't have to go home and look these things up. But if you do, so the reason why you will fill these in as we lecture through is I want you to become familiar with the textbook. I want you to see in terms of the bolding of words and that sort of thing. And I want you to understand in the back, there's also this handy dandy thing called a glossary. And it's all the way in the back, 561, 659, 57, somewhere like that. So if you get stuck on one, and some of them they do, they speak around the definition. So you go to the back and you look it up. All right? One more thing about memorizing. And I know we're not going to get hardly anything today, but don't worry about it. Yeah, got mine here. So this is a crappy thing. This is an S6. Okay, it was my son. My son has top line technology. I have the giveaways. All right, but right here in this thing, just about anything you want to know, I can look it up for you. And because I can look it up for you, you can look it up for you. And that is your future. I mean, when I was in school, there was it wasn't even a dream. The closest thing to this was an encyclopedia. You didn't carry those around. In your pockets is everything you need to know about just about everything. So why would you ever want to spend a second trying to memorize material? I mean, really, why would you give any of your time and attention to memorizing something that you are going to forget in a day or two? The goal in here is to learn, not to memorize. I could care less, as I've said, if you can spit stuff back to me. I want you to learn. And you'll do that if you'll follow through with the stuff that I've suggested. All right? All right, here we go. We'll do we got 3 minutes. Matter on page 1. How about that? Page 1 of your textbook. There it is defined. Write this down next to what says matter there. Anything that has mass and takes up space. Write that down. Anything that has mass and takes up space. There you go. Yeah, on the paper, on page 1. You'll see it on page 1 of the notes. On the other side of the other page 1 of the note. So matter, and incidentally, in terms of this course, what is this course? It is the study of matter. As a matter of fact, I've got this introduced here. I've got the nice little Bible verse, so I have to read that too. So, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So chemistry is the study of what God created. It's all of the stuff. And that's anything that has mass and takes up space. So this cool, refreshing beverage is matter, all right? This jacket is matter. How about this? And I can't do, all right? Does that matter? What I just blew out of my mouth? Yes, of course it is. It's gaseous air, all right? Variety of elements in the air. That's matter. How about if I was to stick my finger into that little receptacle over there? Whatever it was that would shock the fire out of me, does that matter? It is not, all right? Has no space, takes up no space. We're not sure exactly what electricity is. It's energy, but it's not matter, all right? So matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. So what is mass then? You know what? We are to the time, so we got to quit. So this is what this means. We didn't get to anything for you to do for homework this week in terms of lecturing. If you want to do it, I mean, that's fine. But I'm not holding you responsible for it. And if we need to take a little extra time on the first module in terms of finishing homework and turning it in, we do it every year because I spend so much time getting to know you and introducing the course. I think those things are vital. So we will fill in the definitions to these things next week. We're going to hustle a little bit, but we will fill it all in and we'll go through this. Fortunately, most of this material is repetition anyway. Hey, buddy. How you doing? Good to see you. Say what? No, this is we're finishing chemistry here. So, questions? You're cool. You're great. Hey, you're welcome anytime. Is there questions? Thanks, guys. What a pleasure it is to get to know you. Yes?
I have one question about you. What's your favorite color?
My favorite color? Oh, it's blue or yellow.
Okay.
Depends on the day. I really like yellow. Yeah. Thank you. Please wipe off your tables, and thank you for doing that too. Bless you guys.